Who's really winning the American tariff war? China or the USA? While politicians trade blows, Chinese manufacturers have started exposing secrets behind top luxury brands. But is it the whole truth? This isn't just a tariff spat anymore. It's a trade war reshaping the entire global economic order. Donald Trump once boasted he held all the cards, but many of his own products were famously made in China. Can tariffs fix America's $28 trillion economy, buckling under 124% debt? Or is America's strength its Googles and iPhones, not steel plates and pants? Stay tuned as we unpack how this high-stakes game could change everything. How are you doing, friends? Welcome to the Time Drift. You've probably seen them by now. Those viral videos and images where Chinese manufacturers seem to be tearing down the image of the world's top luxury brands. In these short clips, Chinese influencers claim to reveal which Western luxury brand is actually made in which Chinese factory, how cheaply it's produced, and how Western customers are supposedly ripped off, paying thousands of dollars extra just for a logo and fancy packaging. Now, these videos might not immediately tank the $101 billion US luxury market, dominated by names like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Hermes, Gucci, and Ralph Lauren. These brands rake in enormous profits and boost their home country's prestige. But the constant barrage is damaging something crucial: their exclusivity. What makes these brands so valuable? Two key things. First, their history and nostalgic story. Take Hermes. Their logo is still a horse and carriage. Why? Because they started in 1837, making high-quality saddles for horse riders. As travel evolved to carriages, then trains, Hermes adapted, making durable seats and luggage. When you buy Hermes, you're not just buying a bag. You're buying nearly 2 centuries of history, connecting generations. Second, exclusivity. The belief that nobody can replicate their quality. The unique way Hermes dyes leather, the specific stitching their artisans use, the sheer durability. Buy it today. Pass it to your grandchild. That's the promise. Hermes is unique. This is exactly what those Chinese influencers are attacking. They're saying, sure, these brands have history, but they aren't purely exclusive anymore. Most of the work happens in our factories. They're just finished in France or Italy, stamped with a logo, packaged up, and sold for $38,000 when we made it for $1,400. Curious fellows. While these viral videos are hitting the brand's exclusivity hard, let's be honest, they aren't telling the whole truth. Making a product like a luxury brand is different from making the actual brand's product. If you listen closely, even the most viral videos say they make products similar to the originals in specific Chinese factories. This isn't new. The market for high-quality counterfeits, or A copies, has existed for ages, and China is a major hub. What is new is this direct, viral appeal. Cut out the middleman. Buy our top-quality replicas directly for way less, even with tariffs. Even on Amazon US, around 70% of products are reportedly Chinese-made, not counting platforms like Alibaba. These replicas are already sold in US markets. The trade war has just amplified this, embarrassing luxury giants like LVMH and Hermes, forcing them to issue statements defending their exclusivity, often without revealing exactly how much production happens in China. But this spicy damage to Western brands is relatively small. The real fallout from Trump's tariff war is much bigger. Curious fellows. The biggest potential loss for America is the decline of the US dollar's international value. Right now, about 60% of global trade happens in dollars. But this could drop significantly. China and Russia are already doing 90% of their trade in local currencies. India is buying some oil in dirhams. Brazil and China are moving that way too. Even oil, traditionally traded only in dollars, hence petrodollar, might the Chinese yuan gain ground. Why would Trump's tariffs hurt the dollar? Since World War II, the dollar's strength relied on international consensus and trust. But if the US repeatedly uses its economic power and the dollar as a weapon, through sanctions and tariffs, powerful nations will inevitably seek alternatives to avoid being blackmailed by future US presidents. The less international trade happens in dollars, the lower the demand for dollars. Lower demand means lower value. And a weaker dollar makes America's already staggering national debt, over 124% of its GDP, even more unmanageable. Trump's actions, perhaps unintentionally, are accelerating this shift. By the way, friends, we believe Trump, the builder, is stuck in industrial nostalgia from the post-World War II era. He and his supporters seem to ignore the massive shift from an industrial economy to a modern one. Think about it. Economies evolved. From survival hunting, to farming land, to crafting tools. Then the Industrial Revolution brought factories and mass production. The core value was goods. But that age passed too, leading to the information age. Value in data. Now, we're moving even further into the intelligence or cognitive economy. Here, the core value is intelligence, innovation, and services, AI, automation, data analysis, education. One great idea can be worth more than 1,000 factories. Modern societies are teaching their youth skills for this future. And America was leading this charge. 77% of US GDP comes from technology and services. The old steel belt, becoming the rust belt, wasn't a sign of failure, but of progress, shifting to an economy where ideas, capital, and trust created the American dream. The challenge was to accelerate this modern economy, not reverse it. Yet, Trump won office promising to make America great again, seemingly by pushing the US back towards sewing bags and assembling cars. Like in the early 20th century, back to an idea that was modern 3 centuries ago. But not today. Trump, a real estate developer known for aggressive deal-making, alleged tax strategies, and masterful marketing. Remember the controversy over his Wharton degree honors? These seems to genuinely believe this outdated approach is science. He famously called tariff the most beautiful word in the dictionary. His supporters bought it, even as economists warned the main burden of tariffs falls on American consumers. The logic was simple. Higher import prices, less imports, more local production, more US jobs. Nationalism wins, free trade loses. But this dumb logic, as some call it, ignores modern reality. The US and its people have moved far beyond the industrial age. In 1950, manufacturing was 30% of US GDP. Today, it's just 9%. The other 85% is largely services. Americans prefer jobs in IT, AI, e-commerce, education, fields offering flexibility, remote work, innovation, and faster growth potential. Manufacturing means fixed locations, repetitive tasks, and limited innovation outside of design, which itself is often a service. Trying to revive mass manufacturing faces huge hurdles. Firstly, US unemployment is already very low, around 4.2%. Those unemployed aren't typically looking for factory jobs, sewing bags. To fill such roles, America would need massive immigration from Asia or Africa, directly contradicting Trump's stance. Secondly, US labor laws and costs mean domestically produced goods would be significantly more expensive than current imports, likely pricing out the middle class and potentially fueling smuggling, further devaluing the dollar. It's simply not feasible for the US to solve its economic issues by returning to old-style manufacturing via tariffs. Meanwhile, China seems prepared for this economic fight, reducing its dependency on the US market since 2018. Exports dropped from 20% to 14.7% by 2024. More critically, China controls 90% of the world's supply of rare earth minerals. These aren't just obscure elements. They are vital for America's cutting-edge tech, military hardware, and green energy. F-35 jets, submarines, missile guidance systems, smart weapons, EV motors, batteries, smartphones, laptops, wind turbines, AI chips, data centers. The list is endless. America has only one operational mine. Did Trump anticipate this leverage? Maybe not. Back in 1984, when asked how he sold average apartments for high prices, he reportedly said, "People just need a fantasy, a compelling story, and they'll buy it." He sold a fantasy to voters. But this time, he's not just dealing with rival developers. He's dealing with global superpowers. In April, China already retaliated by restricting exports of key rare earth metals, crucial for semiconductors and aviation. A direct hit. Friends, this great tariff and trade war is fully underway. Unless the US completely backs down, it could escalate. Perhaps Trump, or a future leader, will systematically reverse course. But one thing seems irreversible: the erosion of global trust in the US dollar and American promises. Friends, this great tariff and trade war is fully underway. Unless the US completely backs down, it could escalate. Perhaps Trump, or a future leader, will systematically reverse course. But one thing seems irreversible: the erosion of global trust in the US dollar and American promises. And that change must address its biggest elephant in the room: that staggering 124% debt to GDP ratio. Can America adapt to this new reality? Only time will tell. We've actually made an in-depth documentary exploring America's massive debt and the debt ceiling crisis. You can watch it by clicking here. And definitely check out these playlists for more deep dives into the great power games between the US, China, and Russia. Researched from dozens of sources just for you. Curious fellows, what do you think? Who ultimately comes out on top in this economic showdown? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.